Military strikes against Iran. Massive explosion seen in Qatar as Iran retaliates. Terrifying video shows an explosion on a street in Qatar after a missile fell from the sky Saturday. Check out the clip. Horrified people scramble to get away as a gigantic metal torpedo-like object crashes down into a street and then explodes into a fiery mass. It's not clear where the explosive came from, though reports indicate Iran has launched missile attacks targeting the U.S.-occupied Udeid Air Base in Qatar after the U.S. joined forces with Israel to strike Iran Saturday morning. Qatar's government said it intercepted Iranian strikes. Iran has sent waves across the Middle East, targeting U.S. bases in the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan as well. Israel is also being targeted, with Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst reporting live from Tel Aviv, showing missile interceptors being flown over the country's second-largest city and sirens blaring. People across the nation are packing into bomb shelters for safety. President Donald Trump proudly announced the strikes on Iran Saturday morning, saying the U.S. and Israel intend to squash the country's nuclear weapon efforts in what he described as major combat operations. No American deaths have been reported yet, though Trump warned it's a possibility. Meanwhile, on American soil, the New York Police Department has announced it is beefing up security at diplomatic, cultural, religious, and other sensitive locations around the city in response to the conflict in Iran. Fire. Massive explosion in Qatar as Iran retaliates. A creative narrative. The sky over Doha was a canvas of deep indigo when the first tremors reached the city's nerves, a low rumble that seemed distant at first, like the growl of a restless giant. In the cafes and high-rise offices, screens flickered with breaking alerts, explosions reported across the Gulf, sirens activated in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE. People on balconies paused, eyes scanning the horizon. Then came the flash, an orange flare slicing the night near the Gulf's horizon, followed by a thunderous boom that blurred into the heartbeat of every resident. A massive explosion had been seen in Qatar, a stark symbol in a new chapter of conflict that had already ignited much of the Middle East. The spark that ignited the night. Earlier that day, the world awoke to a shocking escalation. Coordinated airstrikes by the United States and Israel had struck deep within Iranian territory. The operation, unprecedented in scale, targeted leadership compounds and strategic military sites in Tehran and beyond. Explosions ripped through the Iranian capital and rattled cities far from its heart. Iranian officials, defiant and unbowed, promised that retaliatory strikes would follow with unrelenting force. Through the boiling cauldron of geopolitics and military might, Tehran's Revolutionary Guards answered with a volley of missiles and drones launched across the region, hurling fire toward U.S. and allied positions. Qatar, home to the pivotal Al-Udeid Air Base, the largest American military installation in the region, found itself pulled into the confrontation. Smoke above the dunes. In Doha, air raid sirens wailed as radar screens bloomed with incoming threats. Patriot air defense systems flared and cried fire, intercepting missiles before they could touch ground. Still, whether from intercepted payloads or shockwaves of intercepted missiles, explosions echoed above the city. Across the streets, the usual calm of Qatar's orderly boulevards fractured. People paused mid-step, staring into skies that only hours before were clear and uneventful. Traffic lights blinked in stunned silence, their LEDs reflecting in wide, uncertain eyes. Homes shook, restaurant glassware rattled, and somewhere in a high-rise, a child asked a question no parent wants to hear. What's happening? From a rooftop vantage point, the glow of distant flares danced against the horizon, echoes of a clash that had spiraled far beyond the region's borders. Far from abstract politics or far-off capitals, the explosions brought war into the senses. Sound, smoke, fear, confusion, and that profound human reckoning when the world's rumble makes itself felt in your own heartbeat. The weight of escalation. In the military command rooms of capitals across the world, generals and ministers watched screens with grim focus. The Middle East had always been a chessboard of complex alliances and silent embers. Now those embers had become ablaze, threatening to leap across borders and seas. The world's oil markets wavered, Global leaders issued statements urging calm, and diplomats scrambled for emergency talks. Yet, for ordinary residents in Doha, the surge of missiles, the air defense fireworks, the sudden cacophony of sirens, it was a night that became living history, written in light and sound rather than ink and screens. A night when distant geopolitics crashed into domestic life like an unforeseen storm. Echoes of yesterday and tomorrow. This was not Doha's first brush with regional fury. In previous years, similar strikes had occurred near its borders. In June 2025, Iran had launched missiles toward the same base in Qatar in a retaliatory move, and Qatar's defenses successfully intercepted them without reported casualties. That event was seen as calibrated, aimed at signaling capability without inviting broader devastation. But the current moment was different. It was not a contained ripple, it was a tidal wave. Airspaces across several Gulf states were closed, markets reeled, and the sky became a theater of deterrence, defiance, and dread. In their voices, on social media and in private messages, a mosaic of voices emerged. A taxi driver texting from his meter, "Doha roads are empty. This is unlike anything we've felt here." A nurse sending a photo of a quiet corridor in a hospital, "Everyone's safe so far. We're ready, but scared." A business owner whispering, "Will our calm return?" These were not just headlines. They were the threads that wove millions of lives into the same story, the same night under the same sky. Conclusion: a sky divided by light and fear. As the sounds faded and the sirens quieted, the smoke still hung like a question mark above the city. What had begun as strategic strikes and political calculation had transformed into a spectacle of human emotion, fear, resilience, uncertainty, and the raw desire for peace. For the people of Qatar, for the residents of the Gulf, and for any eyes watching from afar, that massive explosion seen in the skies was more than a news moment. It was a reminder, sometimes violent, often visceral, that in today's interconnected world, the ripples of conflict know no boundaries. And as the dawn light slowly crept over the desert sands, there was a collective breath held by millions, waiting to see what the next horizon would bring.